last Sunday it
Yeah.
said that I could only
I said, are these people
save
that
one
stupid?
to one location,
Back
and I just went, okay.
Yeah.
when they started in America, we Americans took them at that time.
We're gonna
the
mitigate
greatest
that.
country in the world.
We're gonna get even better
This
software.
is back in 76.
Now that Logitech owns the Vivo, there's like 4 different types of software you can use now.
Oh, really? That's cool.
So you're
How
not
did that
tied
turn out
to
for 'em?
any.
Had a lot
What
of
did we
Yes,
decide it was
Vimeo.
Vimeo?
Vimeo, yes.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We're live.
We're live, hon.
Okay,
Ready to go.
ready to go.
I will be quiet
Isaiah,
now.
Isaiah chapter 10, verse 7 is where we're going to be again tonight. We left off last week. Oh boy, this is still Isaiah talking. He's talking about the king of Assyria, basically. Assyrian army, the king. Anyway, he says, howbeit he meaneth not so, neither doth his heart think so, but it is in his heart to destroy and cut off nations, not a few. Now, this is Isaiah speaking, if I believe I'm correct there.
Is it?
Yes, Isaiah speaking.
7.
Yes, 7. What he's doing is he's talking against the people of the nation at the time. Yeah, the Assyrian, the rod of my anger, it's God talking through Isaiah, is what I'm saying, yes. And so, when he say there, howbeit he meaneth not so, his purpose, intention, and thoughts were not he did not imagine that he was only the rod of his anger and the staff of his indignation, a minister of his wrath and the executioner of his vengeance. He thought he was his own Lord and Master, and acted by his own power, and according to his own will, and was not under the direction or restraints of another. He's taken all the glory and praise. Look what I did.
I did.
Remember, was it Nebuchadnezzar? Ended up eating grass for 7 years. Right? Same loftiness, I guess, as his power has gone to his head. Anyway, his intention was not to chastise under the direction, or not and correct the people of the Jews, but utterly to destroy them, and not them only, but many other nations. He's got
big-headed.
He got big-headed, and now he can conquer anybody and anything. Right? But it is in his heart to destroy and cut off nations, not a few. They're not the nation of the Jews only, but many others, so established as universal monarchy. He's looking for one world order. Like, Anyway.
Basically, you wanted to rule the whole world.
Yes, the known world at the time.
What are we going to do today?
You can take over the world. That's a cartoon from way back in
Yes, it is.
Over the world.
Pinky.
Pinky,
And Brain, that's it, that's
Yeah.
it, yeah. All right. I better not say no. Go ahead. All right, so what flushed him with hope and expectation of success were the magnificence of his princes and the conquest he had already made.
Right.
Now, the magnificence of his princes is the fact that every time he took over a place, he would assign one of his house over the country to rule it.
His lackeys.
No, his family.
Oh, his family.
Yeah, the princes are his
Okay.
his brethren.
They
Okay.
were a conquering family.
Yeah. So they would imitate their dad, or whoever they were, their leader.
Rule with an iron fist. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
The same type of thing, right? So, and that's all their father would tolerate as a king, right?
That's what you see. That's what
What you do, right? So now, the next, these are the words of the Assyrian king now, right? Assyrian, excuse me. And verse 8 says, for he saith, are not my princes altogether kings? All right, see, so what was he doing here? This verse and the subsequent verses contain the vaunting of the king of Assyria. It's bragging. Okay, vaunting means to brag. And the description of his own confidence of success. When he says, for are not my princes altogether kings, this is a confident boast of his own might and power. In other words, they only control that area because of me. I'm the king. I assigned them there. they only have authority and power because of me. Ooh, that can be a bad news bear for you down the road,
It's
right?
not only though, they have this much authority and power because I'm so much more powerful.
Right, it's that attitude, right? Yeah. All right, so his own dominion was so great in power and regalia of kings, small k. You got it? Do you,
I have Ezekiel,
okay,
Ezekiel 26:7.
Anyway.
For thus saith
Yeah,
the
I
Lord
got that
God, behold, I will bring upon
I'll do it.
Tyrus Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, a king of kings from the north, with horses and with chariots and with horsemen and companies and much people.
okay. That's just one example, isn't it? Do you remember when Isaiah said earlier that the hooves of, they were talking about how they were gonna take Judea by coming to these two mountains through the pass? And they were gonna use horses to do that. Because the horses were more sure-footed and could overrun the barrier or the gates, overwhelm it and knock it down so the army could come through, right? It's a reference to that there. What I put in here, the word princess may here refer to either those of his own family and court, the satraps and the officers of power in the army. Is he going to put military leaders there? Of course he is. He's going to lead military people to help enforce the king's laws, right? So then he's asking, he says, how great they must have been his own rank and glory to placed over such illustrious sovereigns, right? He just keeps building himself up, right? It must be acknowledged that a common title which Oriental monarchs gave themselves is that the King of Kings, small k, is the second one. And that's in Ezekiel, which you read, right? And then Daniel.
Who's good? Dan? I got Ezra.
You got Ezra?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Daniel 2:37.
It has an index that will help you.
Stop.
Okay, geez.
Can I do 7:12?
Go ahead.
Artaxerxes, king of kings, to Ezra the priest, teacher of the law of the God of heaven. Greetings.
Okay,
That's it.
okay.
That's,
So what does it say?
well,
Explain.
God. I don't think that's,
Okay.
you usually do that.
No. You need to try.
I'm trying, but
Reread it
not
again.
without reading before and after. It's kind of hard
Read
sometimes.
this,
Yes.
and then tell us how it relates. You can do this.
I am learning.
Yeah. If you, what was the verse on there?
King of kings.
7:12, correct? Yes.
So in other words, he was the leader of all the kings. Because,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there you go.
I-
So he's the head over all the kings, so he is the
King of kings. Got it.
Right. Big K to little K's.
Well, see, I did do it. I get it out of boy? So,
Oh, you
That
got
was
it?
an air high five.
All right. All right.
Fine.
you ready?
She's
Nearly
Share- share-
ready?
Okay.
We're on film. I got proof now.
Your Majesty, you are the King of Kings. The God of heaven has given you dominion and power and might and glory.
Right. So
So these verses are talking about Jesus.
that one's talking about Jesus. This is talking about the Assyria.
Right.
Oh, is it talking
Yeah,
about the Assyrian?
right.
Yeah, the
king?
king that was setting up in different kingdoms, putting his family in
Then why
place.
did they have a capital K?
The first one's a K because he's bigger than they are. The
Right.
second one is the small K. When you talk about Jesus, the King of Kings, is two big Ks.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
That's why you want to do the correlation. That one's King of Kings, correct?
Yes.
And it's capital K and capital K, right? Which means that he's bigger than this guy,
Right.
and he's over all of them,
Yep.
Right.
right? Gives him dominion, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's do verse 9. Is not Calno as Carchemish? Is not Hamath as Arpad? Is not Samaria as Damascus? All right. You thought you guys had a hard time with this one. Now, okay. Is not Calno as Carchemish? The meaning of this confident boasting is that none of these cities and nations against which he had directed his arms had been able to resist him. All had fallen before him, and all were alike prostrate at his feet. Carchemish had been unable to resist him, and Calno had shared the same fate. So he's using examples, is what it is. Right? Now, below after this, I gave some examples and time periods of that we'll look up.
He was a blowhard.
Yeah. And he says, is not Hamath as Arpad. Hamath had fallen before him, and Arpad in like manner had been subdued. And you find that in 2 Kings 18:34.
I don't have that one. I was going for Jeremiah.
Well, go,
I
no?
Well, I
I-
can go for
I-
kings. If you have kings, go.
I'm in Jeremiah.
Oh, you're in it? Okay. Well,
Excuse
you
me.
want me to do Isaiah?
I got
Yeah.
Second
It'll
Kings.
be
Why not?
later.
You got Second Kings. You got Jeremiah.
And he's got
I
Isaiah.
will get Isaiah.
So go ahead and pull up Genesis 10:10.
I'll get Genesis.
Okay. Go ahead.
I don't have it yet. I'm not that
Oh,
fast.
wait, no. It's
now.
actually,
Give it to him.
Oh, I
Second
tried that
Kings.
earlier, remember?
Second
you in
Kings
Kings?
No, I'm in
18:34
Isaiah.
says,
okay.
"Where are the gods of Hamath and Arpad? Where are the gods of Sepharvaim, Hannah, and Eva? Have they rescued Samaria from my hand?" Should let you have that one.
Okay, he's what he's talking about there, right? Is they all had their own gods, artificial
Idols.
Yeah,
idols.
but they're saying,
But-
where are they?
Where are they? Where
are
did
they?
their gods?
Where are
Didn't
all
they help
these
them?
important people, right?
Right.
Right, yeah, where were they when this country got conquered? Where
Right.
was the next-
That's what he's saying there.
Country got conquered.
Right. And then Jeremiah 49:23. Yeah.
Concerning Damascus, Hamath and Arpad are dismayed, for they have heard bad news, troubled like the restless sea.
Okay, so they heard about the first two and knew they were next. Well, isn't that a little bit of psychological warfare?
Oh, yeah, and they use
You want
it
to
a lot.
spread that news. You want
Fear.
to, yeah, fear, right?
Fear is
Fear.
amazing what it can
Ah,
do.
there you go, power. Right? All right, now Isaiah.
Okay, Isaiah 36:19. Where are the gods of Hamath and Arpad? Where are the gods of Sepharvaim?
Yes, Barton. Yeah,
Have they rescued Samaria from my hand?
right. So twice, and you see that Isaiah said it, Jeremiah said it, 2 Kings said it. Like, okay, here we go. Right? So
She
he goes on. He goes on and says, "Is not Samaria as Damascus, or shall not Samaria be as Damascus?" He's saying, "No, Samaria. Shall I not take this that I have done this city? For although Damascus probably was not yet taken by the Assyrian, which is what we heard, right? Yet the prophet speaks of it as actually taken, because these words are prophetically delivered and supposed to be uttered by the king of Assyria at or about the siege of Samaria when Damascus was taken." He's saying, Isaiah is telling them now that this is coming, and there's nothing they can do. Wow. I think I would have listened to the prophet instead of ignoring this guy, right? Now, I put notes in here. Calno was a city in the land of Shinar. It was probably the city built by Nimrod. You guys remember that from the Old Testament? Earlier,
Yeah, and
right?
yeah,
Called in Genesis 10:10, right?
yep. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Eric and Akkad and Count of Shinar. I should have let you read that one.
So Calno it was at one time the capital of the empire of Nimrod. Okay, it is mentioned in Ezekiel 27:23 also.
We're looking it up. I'm
All
Do
getting
you have
there.
it, Dave?
Yeah.
Oh, you got it?
David's got Ezekiel.
Okay.
Okay, do Ezekiel 27:23.
Haran and Kenhe and Eden, the merchants of Sheba, Ashur and Chaldmad were thy merchants.
Say it again, 5 times fast.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I was gonna sing it.
Yeah, you can do that.
Then Sherry be at work tomorrow. Stupid Dave.
Well,
I can't get out of my head now.
after we're done about this, you have to ask her about her dancing dog. Okay, so. All right. Now, Carchemish This was a city on the Euphrates belonging to Assyria. Okay? It was taken by Necho, king of Egypt, and retaken by Nebuchadnezzar in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, in 2 Kings. Now, it's just, trying to give you different points of time where these cities are located or they become important to us later in your Bible studies. Because we know about Nebuchadnezzar, right? We know about the king of Judah, right? So these are all cities that were devastated and then rebuilt, just like Jerusalem. Damascus still exists today, right? Jerusalem still exists today, right? Okay. And what?
2 Kings 23:29.
Okay. Where's, are you in it?
I have it.
Go for it.
Because I was in 2 Kings already, so.
Mhm.
While Josiah was king, Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up to the Euphrates River to help the king of Assyria. King Josiah marched out to meet him in battle, but Necho faced him and killed him at Megiddo.
That's how you conquer a country, isn't it? You take out the king who's the leader. Right? All right, so Hamath. All right, I think that was up there. Hamath and Arpad. This was celebrated city of Syria. It is referred to in Genesis 10:18 as the seat of one of the tribes of Canaan.
I have it.
Okay. You're already in Genesis.
Uh-huh. And the Havite and the, nope, not right, 10:18. And the Arvadite and the Zemarite
Mhm.
and the Hamathite,
Mm-hmm.
and afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad.
Right. So
Scattered.
that scattered out. Hamath was, but that. Do you remember the sons of Noah?
Mhm.
Remember their names?
Seth
Seth is one. Ham was the other.
and the other one.
And the other one.
And they're named after
Hold on.
rocks.
Ham, Shem.
Seth.
Shem.
Shem. Right.
Yep.
Well,
Nailed it.
Hamath is named after Ham. That's where he originally settled. And it's in Syria. Okay. Turkey is way over here. Syria is way down here. Ham was expelled.
No, it's Ham, Shem, and Naboth.
I don't know who Naboth is.
Ham, Shem. It's not Seth. Because
Seth.
Seth is the third son of
Third.
Adam and Eve.
Right. Anyway, it's Noah's sons. Okay. There were two main ones.
Them three fellers.
The three
Learning,
Stooges.
guys.
Anyway,
Mm.
but Ham was cast away because of his disrespect to his father, and he had to go south into Syria, which is part of the edge of Egypt. Okay. So, anyway,
It's Jephthah.
Japheth. Yeah. I need to bring in that chart, huh?
I said Naboth, right?
Yeah.
You said you were
Japheth.
married.
Japheth.
Same thing, but different.
Look.
Oh, you got the chart. There you go. Right. So Arpad, the city was not far from Hamath, and is called by the Greeks Ephania,
Epiphany.
Epiphany, Epiphania.
Epiphany, yeah.
Okay.
That's the, I would assume that's close.
Okay. And that's in, well, we don't need to read it. It's 2 Kings 18:34. It just gives the name of the city, or Ephraim is known in the time period. Was the metropolis of Ephraim, or the 10 tribes. And that's it, and we covered that earlier in Isaiah 7:8. Okay? So Damascus was a metropolis of Syria. It was taken by the Assyrians. Damascus has always been it's like a wagon wheel. Damascus has many roads leading out of it to different parts of the world. At the time, it was a trading center. And if you could take that, then you control all the trade. And that's why it was so popular and people kept trying to take it, right? Even Nebuchadnezzar took it. And because he established his own people and had Daniel assign Cordians to those areas. And they happened to be of the same background as Daniel. And they were collecting the treasures that were taken from the temple and bringing them back. He was actually working very well for Nebuchadnezzar. All right, so verse 10 says, "As my hand hath found the kingdoms of the idols, and whose graven images did excel them of Jerusalem and Samaria." Now, this is a king still talking. king of the Assyrian king, right? When he says that his hand have found the kingdom of idols, which worship idols. See, all these kingdoms worship different idols, different gods, right? As the Targum paraphrased it, he speaks to them as being easily taken, and he had no trouble in subduing them.
Because they were worldly.
Yeah, no sooner did he come up to them and looked upon them and saw where they were, that they fell into his hands.
Yep.
It wasn't even a battle.
Yep.
They were waiting for their gods to protect them. Well, he's teaching the Jews a lesson about that too, isn't he? These Jewish people, the chosen people at the time, the Israelites, right? And then it says, "And whose graven images did excel them of Jerusalem and Samaria." And this is interesting. He's saying that these graven images, being made of better metal or more richly ornamented, or worshipped in a more pompous manner, or were more than they of Jerusalem and Samaria, exceeded them in number, or were stronger and mightier than they, as Chemish supplies it, and yet could not protect them. Now, in the next handout, I have some history on this
Kimchi?
Kimchi.
That's a Korean dish.
Yeah, well, that's not him. Anyway, he's what do they call him? He's a Jewish or Hebrew scholar, and broke down in the 1100s, and he wrote dissertations about the Jewish language, and he's an expert in the language. But anyway, he was also into the history, because he had to understand, when you break down the Jewish language, it's all about history. It has something to, well, we've seen it in the Bible. It keeps going, right? And all the Jewish language is built like that, the Hebrew language. So it may mean one thing in this century, but it will carry on and it'll mean something in a different century. So you have to know which time periods it.
Well, it's no different than English. I mean,
That's-
look at
exact-
fat. It's
right.
just spelled different.
Right, and
Different generations.
and it depends on the time period, right? So okay. So the Jewish historian Jarchi,
Okay.
right, says the wicked men of Israel supplied all the nations with images. They all sprung from them. And if the idols which came from hence could not secure the nations of the earth from falling into the hands of the Assyrian monarch, neither could they preserve Jerusalem and Samaria from being taken by him. They had fallen so bad that they were actually selling idols. Now these are the descendants of the people that built the Ark of the Covenant. Think about the workmanship they could put into the materials, the skills of 1,000 years. Everything's improved, right? These are arsons, and God's like, nope, I'm tired of it. Done. We're going to cut it all off. He's going to take it all away from you, right? You're going to start over, right? I know God sometimes must think that he needed to make the world an etch-a-sketch, so he could just shake it every once in a while and start over. And he does that, basically, if you think about it.
That's great.
That's a great analogy, isn't it?
Yes. That's great.
Like, okay.
It's quick and easy.
Yeah,
Easy. Turn upside down.
right.
Okay.
So, verse 11, and we'll stop at this. I'm sorry it's short tonight, but it's, shall I not, as I have done unto Samaria and her idols, so do to Jerusalem and her idols? Ooh. The king already knows that they're worshiping idols and not the true God.
Right.
And he doesn't care about the true God either. But he finds their weaknesses.
But he started there.
He started there, right?
But then he got pompous.
Yeah.
And big-headed.
Right.
Mhm.
And then believed that it was him.
Him. Not
That he was the
All powerful.
where-all, be-all.
Mr. Smarty.
He would be a very good classic example of the Antichrist, wouldn't he? Do you ever think about that? It's a great example. The Antichrist
Well,
comes to save the world.
But he's also like Satan,
Yeah.
because Satan got big.
Yes, he did. And he got kicked out of heaven, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So anyway, the speaker ignores the fact that of any difference in kind between the religion of Judea and that of the neighboring countries because of the idols, right? He speaks as if he knew nothing of any religion without idols, because he talks about all these places in different parts of the country, and they all had their own idols, right? No doubt the Assyrian ideas on the subject of the religion of the Jews were at this time, as they were even later in 2 Kings, exceedingly vague and incorrect. They'd fallen so far away from God that he couldn't tell them different from the other surrounding pagan beliefs.
Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, go ahead.
But if you say to me, we are depending on the Lord our God, isn't he the one whose high places and altars Hezekiah removed, saying to Judah and Jerusalem, you must worship before this altar in Jerusalem?
Okay, what's he saying?
Well, he's saying that you replace the Lord with idols.
Idols. You have to go to this altar, not this one.
Yeah. This is the new rule,
This is the new rule,
because
right?
this is the way it is.
The man made the rule. You
We
can go
don't
over
have
here.
to
right?
swear an oath on the Bible anymore to be president.
Ooh, yeah, that's true, huh?
Yep.
That happened in the last election.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I put it down. I put a sign at the bottom. You see that it says stop. Isaiah continues with the prophecy here in verse 12. So we're going away from the king back to Isaiah again, right? And it gets pretty in depth in this next section. That's why I wanted to hold off.
Are we gonna skip 11 and go straight to 12 then?
No,
Oh,
verse 12.
verse 12.
No, because if you want to read it to him,
In mine is the new international version.
that's right. Just read the first one.
When the Lord has finished all his work against Mount Zion and Jerusalem, he will say, I will punish the king of Assyria for the willful pride of his heart and the haughty look in his eyes.
And that's where it starts. It's
The
telling Isaiah,
punishment.
oh, it's coming.
The punishment.
And then we found in that research I was doing, I found 3 different biblical historical Jewish theologians that had 3 different interpretations of the same verse, recorded in time.
Are you gonna give us all 3?
Yep, I am. And then we're going to make you guys we're going to discuss it.
No, it's
and
okay
see what
next
we
week.
think.
Because I
Why
have
do
a
that?
fourth theory.
She has, yeah.
I'm getting better at this.
All right, right?
Yeah.
Because you begin to understand.
Yeah.
Does
And
this sound familiar?
also he starts giving you a sermon so that you
My own.
understand what is being
Yep.
said. And as I get into this, I get into layers deep. And I'm like, oh, no, that's too deep. Because nobody wants to go that deep into it, right? I'm like him. I get obsessed and like, oh, there's more.
And then he goes, how does this sound?
I think I need to bring
Also,
a
you're
sound
the
bite
test
for next
subject.
week.
You're the test
Okay,
subject.
sound bite?
Talking
Yeah,
about.
sound bite
Okay,
for next
I've
week.
never
Okay.
even heard of that.
all right.
It's like,
Let's see what it says.
When you have
in
the
King
blank
James.
look on your
Yeah, go there.
face,
Yeah. It's 12, right?
And it
Yeah.
says, well, I'm verse
verse
13.
12.
No,
Okay.
read verse 12
How?
from the
Okay.
King James.
From the King James.
I know what 13 says.
Wherefore it shall come to pass that when the Lord has performed his whole work upon Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the king of Assyria and the glory of his high looks.
As I look.
I'll knock him down a peg or two.
Oh, yeah, he knocks him down, all right.
But then the Amplified says for verse 13, for the Assyrian king has said, get the jab. For I have done this by my own power and my own hand and my own wisdom.
Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, you're out.
But that sounds like
Sounds familiar. doesn't
somebody
it?
said something a few weeks ago that
Yeah.
I'm using my authority.
Right.
Just get the jab, man. Get the jab.
Sounds so.
Cooperate, I'm gonna replace them.
Really creepy.
It was because of 45 because I had to do it.
If you don't like it, I'll take you out behind the gym.
Yeah, right? Did you see him challenge Clint Eastwood? I laughed.
Okay, we gotta get off
Serious?
that.
That was
Yes.
pretty funny.
I didn't see that one.
Oh, yeah, because we're gonna cross that line.
Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for the Bible study and the enlightenment on the tie-in between parallel timelines of things happening then and now. Just be with all of us as we go home this evening, Lord. We just ask a special blessing over all of us and all those listening and everybody. else, and especially the, I guess it's not extra special if you include everybody, but I am. And the leaders of this country, prick their heart, make them do the right thing. Awaken their eyes, cast out the demons, let them know